had told me that I would have gotten on Instagram, started selling from the beginning, built up a community, built up a movement, launched my first ever group program, relaunched my first ever group program after tripling the price, making sales in all situations, landing so many one-on-one clients, masterclass clients, like freebie clients, everything from Instagram. I honestly would not have believed them because I used to be terrified of Instagram. I lived on LinkedIn in my safe little kind of like, caveman platform box, not very aesthetic. I tried to get on on Instagram once in like 2021, and I tried it for, yay, I'm so excited too. I have like a whole list of things I want to cover. But I literally got on Instagram in 2021. I tried and I basically gave up. Like the graphics were too much for me. I didn't even go on stories. Like I had no idea what was going on. And I just basically like shelved it away. I think it might have actually even been this account. I just like shelved it away and I was like, not for me. And then I just went on LinkedIn. I got on TikTok because TikTok is very like just you do whatever. You don't have to do the graphics. And then I got on Instagram in March, a little bit begrudgingly, because I was finding that a lot of people were following me on Instagram from TikTok, because on TikTok, Instagram is the only place that you can like lead people to, as well as YouTube. And I just kind of added my Instagram because people can DM you there. And I realized that a lot of people were following me there and probably being like, there's nothing going on. And so I felt like I had to get on there. And I started working with a coach and I kind of like started learning about Instagram anyway. And so basically like I ended up teaching myself Instagram in essentially like 1 to 2 months. From the beginning, I started basically kind of like selling like 2 to 3 weeks in. So what I want to do in this live is I want to give you a play-by-play of essentially kind of like what I would do if I were to start my Instagram account from scratch as a business owner, trying to sell my services, mixed in with like the things I did that worked, and also some of the things that I wish I'd done differently so that you don't make my mistakes or you get your kind of results faster. So I'm going to walk you through this. So the first thing I want to say is it's funny because I used to really struggle selling on Instagram. It was very, very painful for me. It would take me hours, and I had this really terrible feeling in April or May. It was like when I was launching the BADDIE program. I was excited about launching the first BADDIE program, but I had this like really terrible feeling in my stomach where I was like, is this the wrong choice? Like, have I now added a new channel that's really hard? Kind of not really for a good reason. I was kind of like, it felt like I was kind of forced onto Instagram from TikTok. And like, I love TikTok. I loved LinkedIn, but I was like, why do I have to add this like stupid, annoying aesthetic platform that was just like very not my brand? Like my brand is very just like natural. I don't really care. I look like I woke up in a lot of my TikTok videos. Even like right now, I'm like literally not wearing makeup. And so it was I had this terrible feeling in my stomach where I was like, I'm not going to be able to figure this out. Like, how am I'm not even a designer. Like, I felt like I was struggling with every single graphic. And so it was a really like just terrible feeling that I had in my stomach. But anyway, fast forward to today, I literally love Instagram. I'm not going to lie. I love the graphics. I'm not obsessed with the aesthetic part, but I like how you can do a lot of branding. You can do a lot of embodiment, which you can't really do. For example, on LinkedIn, you can't do that as much. Like you can't like add music to your stories or like music to your carousels. Like you can't really create a whole vibe. And so again, I love LinkedIn for separate reasons. I love TikTok for separate reasons, but I honestly have a very, very soft spot for Instagram. And it's kind of come to like become sort of like one of maybe my favorite platforms. Anyway, so we'll see. Okay, cool. So I have like 9 points here that I want to walk through. And so let's go through the first one. Okay, so what I would do if I was starting from scratch. So one of the things that I think that I nailed getting onto Instagram was, and this kind of like, this may not be the case for everyone naturally, so you might need to kind of like manufacture this. But for me, the thing for my business has always been, I have a very unique niche. This is when I was like only talking about LinkedIn. I was pretty much like the only person talking about LinkedIn in this like fun way. I was the only person talking about LinkedIn that wasn't like in a corporate way. And so when I got onto Instagram and I was just like, hey, like you can have fun selling on LinkedIn, I think everyone was just like, what? And I have a very kind of bold style of content, and I really share my controversial opinions, and I'm just kind of very out there. So I think when I kind of dropped on Instagram, everyone was like, whoa, what? Like, we've never seen this before. So it was, number one, not a lot of people are talking about selling on LinkedIn because people have not yet, even still now, quite woken up to the possibilities of LinkedIn. And I had this like very out there personality and brand. And so I kind of made like a statement when I came there. So this is really important. And I actually wrote a really good email newsletter a few months ago about how I used to basically compete in swimming when I was like 9, 10, and I wouldn't do freestyle or butterstroke like most, or breaststroke like most people. I actually competed in the butterfly, which is like that stroke where you do like both your things. It's like really hard. You need a lot of lung capacity. Anyway, and so it's funny because like I would win all the competitions because most girls either couldn't swim the butterfly because you needed a lot of upper body strength, which I strangely had, or they just didn't want to because it didn't look cute, right? And it's funny because I was thinking about this a few months ago where I was like, the reason I was able to win at butterfly every single time was because no one was doing it. And I was doing it kind of like as a girl. It was like very unusual, right? And so I kind of named this my butterfly blue ocean strategy. And so when you're thinking about marketing, there's a concept of a blue ocean and a red ocean. Red ocean is where like there's just a lot of people there. It's very saturated. It's really hard to compete. Blue ocean is where there's not a lot of people. And so basically with butterfly, that's why I called it the butterfly blue ocean strategy, because it's like no one's competing in LinkedIn, let alone in this like fun LinkedIn way for entrepreneurs. And so what I want you to really think about when you're getting on Instagram or really any new platform is how can you create your own butterfly blue ocean strategy? So I'm not saying that you need to talk about like a brand new topic that no one's talked about. That's probably not really the best in business because there might not be a lot of demand. But what you want to do is you want to find a way to talk about your thing in a way that no one else talks about. That's what's going to really catch attention. And that's actually what worked for me on all my platforms. Like on TikTok, my 4th video went viral because I was showing people how to update your profile picture and actually on LinkedIn and actually make it look like a fun human being, which like it went to 1 million views within like 3 days because people were just like, what? Same with LinkedIn. I was like, hey guys, all my business ideas are failing. And everyone's like, oh my God, like, and they started following me. And so anytime you want to start on a new platform, you really need to think about how can I make a big splash? Because you need that splash when you have like literally practically like no followers and no engagement, no one knows you, and you really need to build up that initial momentum. So that's the first thing. Pick a unique niche, use the butterfly blue ocean strategy, and honestly, plaster your personality all over. Trust me, that's the only thing that is the most unique about you. And that has worked for me time and time again. All right. So number 2, and I didn't do this enough, is optimize the living daylight out of your Instagram bio. So I'm talking like have a really nice picture, have a really unique bio. So I read so many freaking bios that are like helping businesses with their marketing strategy, 10 years in marketing. And I'm just like, I know you're more interesting than that. Like, that does not differentiate you. I know this is such a classic thing to say, but like if we cover up your handle and your picture and we just read your bio, does it only speak about you? I know it's really hard to achieve this, but this is where you can, something that's really important is you want to be memorable. So again, you don't want to be unclear. Like we don't want to be like fluffy, but you want to pick something that is like very unique. So for me, I put like later on, this is like not in the beginning, unfortunately, because I was like really confused about my branding. But at one point I put in my bio, helping IG girlies become LinkedIn baddies and get high paying clients on LinkedIn. And then I named my first group program IG Girly to LinkedIn Baddie. And I got 3 women inside with less than 200 followers after being on Instagram for like 4 weeks, because it really just, it delivered on the value, like it delivered on who it's for that I'm serving, but it was also really unique. And it had, what I want to also talk about is branded language. So I came up with this whole LinkedIn Baddie concept. And the thing is, people get, hey, Britt, oh, I'm so excited Britt's here. She's literally an amazing action taker. She's literally the best. You have to follow her. She's a video creator and starting like helping business owners create video. And she's just, we like had this great content brainstorm and she just like took action on all the content ideas. I was like so impressed. Okay, so we're on number 2, which is optimize the living daylight out of your Instagram bio. And so using branded language. So this is where you want to really start building your community. So I know that it seems like when you have, your tips are so incredible. Thanks, Britt. I'm so happy. I like love sharing. So basically, even if you feel like you're really small, trust me, I literally had less than 200 followers on Instagram. Like I think I had like 112 or something, and I started building my community. It's never too early. The sooner you can do it, the sooner people will get really closely tapped into your movement and your mission. And look at me now, everyone's talking about LinkedIn baddies, content baddies. Like it's like a whole thing across multiple channels, like literally 4 channels, like LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, email, like freaking in person. Like my husband's best friend knows about LinkedIn baddies. Like my neighbors know about baddies. Like it's never too early to start building your community. And so in your bio, you really want it to be clear. You want to use your ideal client's exact words if you can as well, because that's what's going to resonate, right? And so I knew that when I put IG girlies who want to become LinkedIn baddies to get high paying clients, I know that they call themselves IG girlies. Like I just know that because it's like a thing and people want high paying clients. And so don't invent some kind of weird terms. You can invent your branded terms, but make sure you're also putting your ideal client's words so that they resonate. Literally, one of my private clients that just signed on with me like a week ago or something while I was like out in Mexico, she read my bio, IG girly, and she's like, that's me, literally, because she calls herself that, right? So think about that. Optimize your bio. Also, something that I didn't do is I did not clean up my highlights, y'all. Like my IG highlights were a freaking hot mess for like ages. I'm still not like absolutely head over heels in love with them, but they like make sense. Put the highlights, because honestly, when people go to your profile, it's like a funnel, right? They see your profile, they read your bio, and they're gonna look at your highlights. So again, even if you're small, I thought like, oh, like I have only 112 followers, who cares? Should have freaking used the highlights, because you can literally drive sales. The minimum that I would do is add a about me Instagram highlight. So basically just have something that says like a little short story about you. Do it in your stories. Do like maybe just like, I don't know, 6 slides about like how you got to where you are right now. Show pictures of yourself, what you do, whatever. Do a 6-story slide, shove it into your about me highlight, and that's your freaking about me highlight. Then you want to start like a few other highlights, something really simple, maybe like offers. That's going to be a good one, just like how to work with you or something, and then maybe add like another highlight or something. The goal here is you want to nurture your audience with your highlights, and you also want to show them that you are selling. This is one of the biggest mistakes that I see people make early on in their social media journey, is they don't say that they're selling. And it's kind of like, I totally get it, because you're like, oh, like, I don't want to sell. Like, I haven't really like built my community yet. I don't want to be pushy. But the problem is when you don't upfront say, hey, I'm here to sell, you risk getting friend zoned, because people now look at you as like the free information person. It's not pushy to sell. Like, you have to establish yourself as a business owner from day one. And so when you do that, you're starting to put that seed in people's head, right? Like, just putting a highlight that says how to work with me is not pushy or salesy. People can read it. They can ignore it if they want, or they can have the seed in their head, and then 4 weeks later, when they need you, they're going to think of you, right? You need to plant that seed. So this is under the IG bio, 100%, just literally make it clear that you're selling, right? There's also like the link in bio situation, but like if I go down that rabbit hole, I'm going to be here for 2 hours. And I told myself I'm not going to do this live for longer than 45 minutes because I'm trying to be quicker with myself here. Okay, so, and with the IG link in bio, obviously you can put them into like a freebie or something. I wouldn't link to your website because people get lost on your homepage. Maybe it's like a resource with a call to action. I don't know. There's a million things I could say about the link in bio, but we can worry about that another day. Okay, so number 3, this one is really important because it's about creating content and posting to the grid. So one of the things that I did in the beginning and then changed and then went back to doing it the original way was actually how frequently I was posting into the grid. So when I first started, I posted to the grid maybe like 2 to 3 times a week because again, like I was so new to Instagram. I was really overwhelmed by the aesthetic stuff. And I also just like, because your feed is in a grid and everything is on display, I didn't want there to be like a lot of garbage content. So again, I'm all about experimentation, but with Instagram, like you don't want to just like post crap for like 5 weeks and then you have this garbage in your feed because unfortunately people care about the feed and kind of like how the grid looks. It doesn't have to be like perfectly aesthetic, but like it needs to kind of look nice, right? Like, let's be honest, we're on Instagram. So I actually only started posting, hey Vivian, thanks for joining. I'm so excited for you to be here. Talking about how to start Instagram from scratch if I were to do it all over again. So basically I started posting actually not frequently on the grid. And then at one point I freaked out and I was like, oh my gosh, hey, thanks for joining. Oh, so excited. I think it's, one of my friends, one of my biz besties from a group program I'm in. So happy that you're here. So basically at one point I freaked out on Instagram and I was like, oh my God, like I need to start posting more frequently. So then I started basically just kind of like half-assing my posts, shoving them in the feed and just kind of like being like, whatever, I'm testing. Not really the best thing because I wasn't actually being intentional with my content. And so I was kind of honestly just putting garbage in the feed, which like I hate to admit because I like care so much about content. But I was kind of in this like, whatever, I'll just test. I was kind of in TikTok mode, which is like, whatever, just post the video, who cares? But I personally don't know that that's the best for Instagram, especially because then you kind of, you start to get down on yourself because you realize the engagement's low. And I feel like people are very sensitive to like quality, like visual content and kind of stuff like that on Instagram. So I personally went back after posting every day for a bit. I actually went back to only posting 2 to 3 times a week. And it actually wasn't until literally about 1.5 months ago that one of my clients hired me and told me that actually when she checked out my Instagram, she was like, oh, like you don't post as often on the Instagram grid as much as you do on TikTok. Only then did I actually, I'm like, okay, I'm going to start posting every day to the grid because I was basically showing up in stories, which I'm going to talk about in the next point. But basically only recently in the last like month or 2 have I started posting every day to Instagram because my content has leveled up. I know exactly what to post to get good engagement. I know how to run good experiments without putting like garbage in the feed. And so what I would honestly recommend in the beginning is I burnt out trying to post every day when I didn't know what I was doing and it was like the aestheticness was too much. So I would personally recommend just post 2 to 3 times a week to the grid. More if you can, sure, if you can handle it. But what I would do and what I literally did that worked like a charm was I showed up in my Instagram stories literally every freaking day. And this is point number 4. So we're at point number 4. We have 9 points. So point number 4 is I literally showed up on my Instagram stories every day. So I'm not going to lie to you, in the beginning, it took me a really long time to do my Instagram stories. It was like borderline stressful how long I was taking on them and I felt really guilty. But something that I want to say about this is It's one thing to feel guilty about spending a long time on a task when you know that you like shouldn't be doing that task, or you're like procrastinating for no reason, or you're like perfecting. But when you're learning a new skill, I personally think it's okay to spend longer on it. Like, for example, when I first got on Instagram, it literally took me, I'm not gonna joke with you, 3 hours for me to create a carousel to the point where I was happy with it. Was there some perfection in there? Yes. Was I crying every time? Yes. Ask my husband. Literally asked him the other day, and he's like, I'm traumatized by how much you cried over carousels. Now, love carousels. I create a carousel in like freaking 15 minutes. It's beautiful. It gets like 56 likes. 4 people send it to someone. 13 saves, like it just blows up, but it's because I put in the time and I struggled, right? Cut down on the perfection. Again, Instagram's a bit of a mindfuck because you're like, but it needs to be perfect. Like, I totally get it. I've been there. But again, with the stories, whatever it is, try to not guilt yourself and shame yourself too much if you're spending a really long time, because you're building that muscle, right? Like now when I do Instagram stories, it's like super quick, because I've like struggled and I figured out like, oh, when I do it like this, it takes me extra time. When I add too much of this stuff, like you learn how to cut the corners in the right way so that you're not just like throwing up a story for 2 hours, like working on a story for 2 hours that like no one cares about, right? So in the beginning, it's going to take a little longer because stories are a little bit complicated, I'm not going to lie, but there's a way to simplify them. And this is what I would do. So something that really helped me was practice makes perfect. Hey, thanks for joining. So yeah, you kind of have to, hey, Darren. Oh my gosh, Darren is like my longtime community member, amazing person. Loyal Instagram live watcher. So basically with stories, something that really helped me with Instagram stories is, and it took me a long time to freaking figure this out, but actually pairing the content that you're putting in the feed with what you're doing in your stories. So I know in the beginning, I was just like, oh my God, like now I have to coordinate the feed with the stories. Like it was like way too much. But again, I got better at it. And as you do it more, it'll start to flow more. Like for example, today I have a reel that's going to go out where I'm actually promoting a free training. That's a little funnel that I'm testing. And so now my stories are going to be all about that freaking funnel, right? It's going to be all about the win that I'm talking about in my reel. That's going to be like the main character of the day. And I'm going to sprinkle in the other things, right? So a really great way to kind of like prompt yourself with your stories is to use the content that you're posting and think about like, how can I expand more on the content? How can I tell a story in my stories, about the content that I'm posting? Like, why did I decide to post this today? Like if I'm talking about a win, it's like, let's set the scene more. Like, hey, like for the post today, for example, you know, it's about like how a client discovered me from like TikTok, Instagram, whatever. I might tell a story about like, hey, like I used to actually literally never really know how people discovered me. I wouldn't really ask them. I had no idea. I would just be happy when I got a sale and And I might do another story like, is that you? Like, are you just happy when you get a sale? And like, you don't actually really know why it happened. And then I might go into the next story and be like, I actually started asking my clients, how did you discover me? And I started actually building out this like customer journey of seeing like, oh, so like you first searched me on TikTok and you put that, hey, Melanie, thanks for joining. So happy to have you here. So basically I would like be like, oh, so you like started with TikTok search. You typed in this keyword. Oh, and then how long did you binge my content for? Okay. And then I'm gonna, hey, love, and then I'm going to launch into another story where I'm like, I actually created an Instagram reel for you today to show you exactly the steps that one of my clients took to work with me. Oh, Melanie's like thrilled to be here. She's absolutely amazing. You guys have to follow her. So basically and then I might like talk about the reel. I'm like, hey, here are the exact steps that my client took to discover me and hire me in under a week. Like, I can't wait for you to binge this reel, like go give it some love or something. And then in the next slide, I might say like, hey, like read the caption. In the caption, I'm actually telling you, I'm sharing with you like a free training. Melanie's like, oh, you're the best. You're the best. I get so excited on lives. This is like, I told my husband, like, if I could just go live every day and create content which I do, but like, if I could just talk every day, like that would be my ideal business, which is basically what I do. But basically, so then I might kind of then in my stories be like, hey, like in the caption, I actually tell you that I have a free training, which is this new funnel that I'm testing. Like, hey, DM me, Journey to get this free training if you want to find out the 3 steps you can take to da-da-da-da-da. And so now I've taken one reel and I've literally created like 5 to 6 Instagram story slides, right? The one thing, and then I can flow into a sale potentially, right? For this IG reel, I don't want to flow into a sale because I have this like funnel going and I have like other things going on. If you want to do a dual live, I'll follow your lead. I know LinkedIn we can. Yeah, we totally can. So, embarrassingly so, I've actually never gone live on LinkedIn, which is like really, really embarrassing. My clients have done it more than me. It's super awkward. But I should probably do that one time. So maybe we can go live. But basically, so now we've taken a reel and we've turned it into like 5 or 6 Instagram story slides. Like that's probably, going live is like fun anywhere. I've gone live on YouTube and Instagram and TikTok, but not LinkedIn yet. I feel like the LinkedIn UI sometimes like does weird crap. But so basically now you have like the stories for the day, right? And maybe if your reel is like, if you can actually lead into a sale, you can now lead into a sale. Like, hey, like if you found this valuable, I can actually help you da-da-da-da-da-da. Here's how to take action with me. DM me this keyword or like book a call here, da-da-da. And so that's, for example, like one story flow that you can easily create from posting an Instagram reel, right? The one thing that I see a lot of people do in Instagram stories is I'm going to call out kind of like 2 things that I think are not beneficial. So the first one is not actually selling in your Instagram story. So I know that again, it's probably like, oh, like I'm not big enough or like no one's going to buy or like all these excuses. When I literally had under 200 followers, you guys, I literally had not been on Instagram. It was like a dormant account for like 4 years. I actually like, honestly, I had no community. I was launching a new offer. I literally sold on Instagram stories every single freaking day except weekends for literally like 2 months or something. And I'll tell you the 2 reasons why I sold. Number 1, because I wanted sales, obviously. But number 2, which is so underrated, is I sold every day because I wanted to get better at it. Every time it was painful for me to do my Insta, like there were so many days where I was literally like, what's the point? What's the point in me selling on my Instagram stories? No one's gonna buy. I suck at these stories. Like they just don't look pretty like all the IG girlies. What the fuck is the point? Those days where I sold, someone reached out. This has happened 3 freaking times in my business. So now every time I'm like, what's the point? I'm like, I catch myself and I'm, this is the day something's gonna happen. And so even if it doesn't, I want you to train yourself because you need to get better at it. It's like me crying while creating the carousels, me feeling guilty about spending 4 hours doing Instagram stories one day because I got into a rabbit hole trying to do too many screenshots and like overthinking and changing stories. Like you have to go through that in order to get better. The more reps you put in, the closer you will get to driving results faster. I've been putting the reps in on Instagram stories since freaking March. And now it's like, I love selling on stories. I love selling on Instagram. I get people to DM me. It comes with practice, but you need to build that muscle. And you also need to get to the point where you don't have the nerves. Like you're not just like nervous selling on stories. You can actually have fun. You can be yourself. That's when people are going to buy because they're like, oh, like, wow, this person actually is like super inspirational, right? Okay, so that's the first thing, not selling in your stories. Like you got to sell every single day. I know that sounds really overwhelming. You don't have to literally sell every day, like to the point of burnout, but like try to sell very frequently. That's what I would personally recommend, at least 3 times a week. Melanie is like, yes, it's like building a muscle. Absolutely. Like you have to build the muscle. And the thing is, like in the beginning when you're building the muscle, you're hating it. I get it. Trust me. I freaking hated my life. I literally was like, oh my God, I've made a giant mistake, like starting an Instagram account or like reviving my Instagram account. Like it should have just stayed dead and dormant. Like I literally had extreme guilt where I was like, oh God, I've added a channel. Now I'm launching this group program. Now I have these people who are like waiting for me. I felt so guilty, but I kept going and now I'm getting the results, right? Okay, the second mistake that I see a lot of people make in stories, and there's honestly like 80 more things I could talk about. Well, let's just simplify it. The second thing, and this is such a pity, and I used to make this mistake until I asked for feedback. I literally asked 3 women I trusted in my Instagram community. I was like, hey, what do you love about my stories? What do you hate about my stories? Like, please just be honest with me. And one of them was actually kind enough to be brutally honest with me. And she's like, honestly, when you do talking head, like 5 videos in a row, she's like, I go straight past. I don't have the energy. I don't care. It's just way too much. And I was like, oh my God, it stung. I was like, oh God, like this is so cringe. Like I've been like talking at these people and they hate it. But because I asked for feedback, I was able to change that, right? And so I see this a lot in a lot of Instagram stories is you'll do like the talking head and then a talking head and then a talking head. And then the worst part is, and I used to do this too, I totally get it. You do the 4th talking head in the beginning, you're like, sorry, like I know that I've been like talking a lot, but I just really need to finish the point. It's like, no, like don't keep talking, like just flip. So if you look at my stories now, I never do 2 talking heads in a row. And I always try to make the talking head actually shorter than the full minute. Like I try to make it as short as possible. And I always flip it with graphic, still post, talking head, graphic, a bit of a talking head. So it's kind of like, it's almost like you're watching a presentation and then you have this little moment where you see the person behind the screen and they're kind of just like, hey, just to give you some context, or like, here's a story of da-da-da, like something like that, or like, I just want to really emphasize here why this is important. So you're almost like really showing yourself in those glimpses, right? Between the presentation, because people are more comfortable just kind of like reading stuff on screen and then occasionally seeing a video of you, right? If you want to talk for literally 20 minutes on video, go live on Instagram, okay? Or if you want to talk for longer, a lot, create a bunch of reels, right? But don't do talking heads, like too many talking heads in a row on Instagram. I find that like people don't like it. And I even don't like I will skip straight past it. And also add those captions, guys. Because like if there are no captions, people are definitely going to skip over. All right. So that's point number 4. So number 5 is super important for you to build up that engagement and really milk any kind of positivity that you have in your community in the early days. And so this is something I relied on heavily. So I literally screenshotted freaking everything. Client results, obviously in my containers. If I didn't have clients in the containers that I was advertising, you know what I would do? Any kind of DM conversations, I would screenshot. Obviously, like don't show the person's name, but I would screenshot to show like, hey, like I'm hearing all these things in the DMs. Like, do you feel like this? Like, oh, like this person said this. This makes me think of this. And then literally, if you're not getting DMs, I still do this right now. I get DMs, but I still leverage this tactic because why not? Screenshot the comments on your posts. Because if someone's like, oh my gosh, this is so insightful, great, screenshot it, put it on your story, and now talk about that. Add more context. Hey, this person found this really insightful, which reminds me, this actually really works when X. This is really important for this person. Hey, thanks for joining. So I want you to really, really milk every single positive thing that is going on in your account. Let's say you got 5 new followers in a day. Be like, screenshot that. Maybe you hide the names. It's just like 5 more people in the community. So happy that more people are joining the LinkedIn Baddie community. The reason I started the LinkedIn Baddie community is because not enough people are using LinkedIn the fun way. They're burning out or they're just ignoring it. Launch into a story about you. Like literally there are infinite threads that you can create from all these things that are going on, right? And it's just like literally a flywheel. Something that I also want you to really think about with screenshotting stuff is don't overdo it, right? Like I literally burnt out like with trying to like organize the screenshots and like adding too much to the point that like the stories were taking forever and the screenshots weren't necessarily like that valuable and like a high volume. So again, use discernment. Don't just shove a screenshot there and like burn yourself out putting 50 screenshots on a story in a day. Use your discernment. But if you see something really cool, take that piece, talk about it, and extend it into like 1 to 2 story slides, right? Okay, so we have 4 more points to cover here. So number 6 is so the DMs. Have conversations in the DMs with your ideal clients. This is literally what helped me market and sell my first ever group program with under 200 followers and then triple the price and relaunch it and get 2 women in at the new price, okay? So what I did is I would literally have these conversations in the Instagram DMs, and what I would do is I would literally copy and paste what they were saying into a spreadsheet. I would transcribe the voice notes that they were sending me to basically analyze how they were talking about their situation in their own words. So when I was in the DMs with them, so I'll tell you, when I first officially started using this Instagram account in March, I was not selling anything. I took 2 weeks and I just started building my community. So I know I said you should sell from the beginning. You absolutely can. I just literally didn't have anything to sell because I didn't love my done for you offer. And I went on Instagram to basically reinvent myself, right? But in the early days, I literally was just talking with the women in my community. I was like, what's going on in your business? Like, what's your goal? Like, you know, like, oh, like you live in Denver. That's amazing. Like I went to Colorado Springs, like blah, blah, blah. Like whatever, but always loop it back to like getting more information from them, right? Like get them to talk, leave voice notes, comment on their stories, like cheer them on, like support them, like literally just be a community member and just try to get people to talk in the DMs, document what they're saying. And then what I did is I used those exact words in my marketing. That is literally how I sold my program, because I was literally using exactly what they said. They were like, I have corporate trauma. LinkedIn is intimidating. I just want to be myself. Do I have the balls to be myself? How do I find my authentic voice on LinkedIn? I want high paying clients. I'm tired of people lowballing me on Instagram, blah, blah, blah. I literally took those words out of their mouth, plastered it across my stories, across my content, and then I launched my program and 3 women joined literally immediately, or not immediately, but like 3 women joined my program before I closed the doors, first ever group program, because I was literally speaking their language, right? So people underestimate the DMs. It's like a big, big tragedy. All right, so that's DMs. Okay, so number 7 is basically just a little bit around the content strategy for the grid. So I would really simplify it, okay? And I would use themes. So I'm gonna share with you a very, very simple strategy that I've been using that I still kind of use a little bit that helped me just not get overwhelmed with content on Instagram. So I basically had, you have your Instagram reel. So this is basically your growth content. This is your visibility content. This is how you're going to kind of get like new people into your account, right? This is where you want to share like any kind of like big impressive wins about you, big impressive wins about your client, things about your story, kind of like very like out there content, like kind of like statement content that really makes people look and just be like, oh, what? Like I did a reel very early on that was saying like the average annual salary of a LinkedIn user is over $75,000, which is twice the buying power of like your average Instagram and Facebook audience. I did that as a reel, right? Because that was something that would really catch people's attention. They were like, wait, what? And then they would check on my account, they would follow me, and then they would binge my other content, right? Another example is maybe I did one recently where I was just like, I most, like a lot of business coaches will pay thousands of dollars for like a photo shoot in their bikinis. I would rather just like wake up on a Saturday, grab my iPhone and tripod and just do a random photo shoot and like a random dress and a jumper, because it's just more relatable to my ideal client. So again, this is like very like controversial opinion, very different, kind of like that double take situation. Use the reels to bring people into your account by doing something different, right? Then what you're going to do is you're going to have your classic carousels where you're going to basically educate. You're going to be very, very specific, hyper specific educational content, speaking to very specific situations that only your ideal client is experiencing, and then the solutions to that, right? Very classic carousel, educational, pepper in your story, pepper in your authority, but ultimately you're basically educating and nurturing through this. Then you're going to have a third type of content, which is basically going to be what I call like your sassy content. So this is going to be kind of like a one graphic. So you'll see that I have a new series for this type of post right now on my feed. It's called the BADDIE Bible. And this is basically like either sassy or value-based motivational content. So what you want to do here is you basically want to connect with your ideal client around their values, or call them out lovingly in something, or handle objections. So I used to call this like my sassy post, and it would be stuff like, you know, stop ignoring LinkedIn as a revenue channel just because like you think the algorithm's complicated, or like, you know, your boss doesn't care that you like your boss from 6 years ago doesn't care that you're running a business now or something. So I would kind of be like in a sassy, humorous way, kind of like calling my ideal client out, reversing objections, reversing their false beliefs, kind of like shifting their mindsets, and kind of just being humorous, right? Or talking about what I stand up for. So this is where you're really going to show them that you connect with them more than anyone else, right? So this is like a very, very simplified content strategy. You could add so much more in, but I would honestly recommend just sticking to those three types of content. There might be like a few other things you need to add there, but that's honestly good enough to start on the grid. And then you just go hard selling in your stories. That's what I would personally recommend. Super simple. Okay, so 2 more points. Number 8 is, this is a small point if you have a TikTok account. If you are on TikTok, you're gonna wanna funnel people from TikTok to Instagram. This worked incredibly for me. This still works incredibly for me. This is the reason why I got on Instagram, you know, fortunately now, but unfortunately at the time, I was just like, oh, for fuck's sake, like I have to now like funnel people somewhere from TikTok. But Instagram is the perfect place. Everyone has an Instagram account. They can DM you on there. And if you are using TikTok as a visibility platform, you can still sell on TikTok too. But I would say also, she's like, I hate TikTok. I feel like TikTok is like a love-or-hate relationship. I personally love TikTok, but I also hate TikTok because I get a lot of haters. Like people literally have like ripped me open on there. It's like pretty painful. People are just brutal on there. But anyway, so if you are on TikTok, which you don't have to be, but if you are, funnel people to Instagram by literally like either, I don't think you can connect your Instagram account anymore, but I literally just put something like same handle on Instagram or something, and like a bunch of people find me on Instagram, because then you can just, you're selling all the time on Instagram. So it's just like and the thing is, what I want to say quickly here is my goal is to basically, it's really a visibility platform. TikTok hates me too. It's a hate. So TikTok is a visibility platform, but like you can sell on it. I just want to kind of like say that, but you still want to funnel people to Instagram as well, because as I was going to say, my ultimate goal in my marketing strategy for my business, omni-channel, is I want everyone to be following me on every platform. That's my goal. LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, email. I want people everywhere. Like I want every single person to be following me everywhere so that I can basically like infiltrate, right? Call this evil. This is actually marketing. You want to be omni-channel everywhere where they're consuming content. You want them to be consuming your content, because I don't want someone going to YouTube and freaking watching some other person talk about LinkedIn. Like, again, I'm not just talking about LinkedIn anymore, but it's like, you're basically just giving them to your competitors, right? I want them on my email list. I want them on my LinkedIn content. I want them on my TikTok channel, right? So always funnel everywhere across. She's like laughing at what you said. TikTok is just, it's a crazy world. I go on and off TikTok. Like I'll like love it. Like yesterday I like went crazy and recorded like 13 videos. A month ago I was really not feeling TikTok. But anyway, so funnel people from TikTok to Instagram if you do have a TikTok account. Okay. Last thing that I want to share with you is something that really helped me kickstart my journey on Instagram. And I didn't actually really get this until like way later. So I want to tell you so you can utilize this sooner is I want you to leverage an existing community. So it's not the audience, it's just the algorithm, and I don't have the capacity to create that much content. Yeah, I know. TikTok is like very high volume. I've gotten to the point where I literally just rip out my phone and I just talk into it for a minute and then I just post the video. So I've kind of got it down to like a bit of a machine type of situation. But still, even just like adding the hashtags and the caption, like, and you have to engage, right? And you have to like think about the content. And you can't just like pretty much like directly repurpose to Instagram, unfortunately. But yeah, I basically just like, I just talk at it and I just post. The nice thing with TikTok is it's a volume game. I've been cross-posting and it bombs hard. Yeah, I do talking head. I repost to Instagram, but it has to be more clean. Like I find the messy ones don't do as well. But yeah, TikTok, the nice thing is it's just like quality doesn't matter. Aesthetics don't matter. Like quality of the content matters, but it doesn't matter if you like look like this. Like I have some like weird shit going on with my hair here. No makeup, whatever, crappy background, it doesn't matter. Like I'll literally take a TikTok video as I'm like walking down the street and there's like car noises in the background. But anyway, so number 9 that I want to tell you before I drop off is, and before actually I drop off, I want to tell you about something really cool that's going on, but leverage an existing community. So when I first got on Instagram, I was part of, there's this community in Vancouver where I live right now. I'm moving to Europe next year, but there's a community called the CEO Social Club. And they're basically like a community of female entrepreneurs in Vancouver. And I was part of them. I was following them on Instagram and their founders. And through them, I got discovered by a lot of people. And actually through them, I got some clients too, because there was kind of like this familiarity. They were like, oh, like you're in the CEO Social Club. I can kind of trust you faster, right? It's like that kind of referral type of thing. And so, and then also like I was in a bunch of group programs this year. And so every time that happened, I would kind of leverage that community to basically meet more people. I'm in a community right now called the Freedom Queen community. And like, it's just like, I've grown my community so much through that community, right? Because in the early days, it's going to be really hard for you to just like grow from scratch on your own. It's possible. But if you're part of communities, you may as well just leverage that, right? So like engage with their page. When you're doing something with that community, tag them in your stories. Maybe they'll like reshare you on their stories with their bigger audience. People will discover you. So really leverage that community. And again, in the DMs, when people connect with you, be like, hey, like, where did you find my account? They'll be like, oh, like you're also part of the CEO Social Club. Oh, that's so amazing. Like, when did you join? Like, what events are you going to? Like, really build that relationship. And that's something that really, really helped me. All right, so those are the 9 things. So number 1 was pick a unique niche that you can make a statement with when you first drop on Instagram. Number 2 is optimize your bio, including using your ideal client's words, but also using branded language that's very memorable and very unique to you. Number 3 is post to the grid, literally like up to 3 times a week. Don't burn yourself out. Don't put too much garbage in the feed. Just pace yourself as you learn how to create better Instagram content. Number 4 is sell on stories every day. That is your number 1 thing. Stories over the grid. Sell every day. Practice. Even if it takes a long time, just keep freaking going. Sell every day, even if you don't feel like there's any point. Trust me, there's a point. People are watching. You're getting better. You're getting closer to your goals. Number 5, screenshot everything. DMs, comments on your Instagram posts, new followers coming in, conversations you're having in your containers with your clients, whatever, what people are saying on other platforms. I would be like, oh, my LinkedIn post is blowing up, like whatever. Screenshot everything, put the proof on your stories, build momentum through that. Number 6, leverage the DMs to speak to people and then write down exactly what they're saying into a spreadsheet. Transcribe your voice notes so that you can use their words in your marketing. Number 7 is super simple content strategy that I shared with you. You can go back and rewatch the live if you want me to walk you through that content strategy. 3 types of very simple content you can post. And then number 8 is funnel your people from TikTok to Instagram. If you have a TikTok, you may as well. People are used to doing that. Everyone just knows that. A lot of people will just go find you on Instagram from TikTok. And number 9, leverage an existing community you're part of so that you can get more growth and build more trust with people who also know that community. All right, so those are your 9 tips. That's honestly what I would do if I was starting Instagram all over from scratch. And a lot of this stuff I am still doing because you have to keep doing this stuff, right? Okay, so I hope this was helpful. So the last thing that I want to let you know is I am preparing something very new and special. And I'm super excited about it. And I have basically a little mini training that gives you a little bit of a tease of the type of stuff that I'm going to be talking about more and some of the new things that I'm launching in that area. So it's like literally 100% free training. The training is around the 3 steps that you can take literally today to find out exactly how your, yes, of course, hon. Yeah, you're welcome. She's like, thank you so much, Lena. That was great. I'm so happy. The live will be in the feed for you to rewatch. But anyway, the free training I'm telling you about is 3 steps you can take to find out how your clients are discovering you, what they're, hey Barbara, what they're loving about like deciding to work with you so that you can optimize that buyer journey and essentially the funnel and flow more leads through that funnel, right? So basically how to find out how people are discovering you and looking to work with you so that you can improve that experience and get more leads through the funnel. If you want the free training, literally you don't have to give me your email. It's 100% free. There is like nothing going on there. Just send me a DM saying journey and I will send you the link to the free training. It's literally like not gated. It's just like on the page, you'll see the little 12-minute Loom training. I walk you through the exact 3 steps, including the literal like conversations that I've had. You can literally copy and paste this for your business and today learn how your clients are discovering you, what they're doing to decide to work with you so that you can optimize those steps and basically find more clients like them. So send me a DM called Journey if you want the free 12-minute training. It's absolutely amazing. I recorded this morning. I'm in love with it. I do this like every single day in my business. And this is what has allowed me to grow my business to like multiple 5 figures and going up to 6 figures next year. All right, so I hope you loved this training. If you did, send me a DM. Let me know what you liked about it. And I look forward to seeing you in my community more. All right, okay. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Have an amazing day. And I will see you in my feed and in my Instagram stories and hopefully in the DMs. Yeah, send me a DM. I'd love to chat to you. Okay, bye.